1280 New Orleans.
That's what we're told.
A week from today, Dunc and Holder hits the road for happy hour. That's what I'm talking about. We'll be headed to the Troubadour Hotel next Friday, March 16th. That is the rooftop bar, the Monkey Board, 1111 Gravier Street. We'll be eating some crawfish from 5 to 7. I will be there. I'm assuming Clyde Verdun is not going to miss this for the world.
Absolutely not.
Jeff will unfortunately be globetrotting.
Yes. I'll be there cat herding too.
You could absolutely do that. Maybe
whatever that means.
Maybe you could bring the horse sounder.
Clyde.
Crawfish herding too. You might lose some crawfish. They might be crawling around on the Troubadour floor.
But
that'll be your problem because they need to be cooked.
But we're looking forward to it. 5 to 7, we'll be there. They will have crawfish from 5 p.m. until the place runs out. $25 includes 3 pounds and 2 local draft beers. You can also reserve a cabana for your whole crew for a clean $500. None of that money goes into my pocket, unfortunately, but we will be there having a great time again next Friday, not today, next Friday, March 16th at the Troubadour Hotel rooftop bar, the Monkey Board. Crawfish boil, having a great time at 1111 Gravier Street. Come eat crawfish, drink beer, we'll talk sports. We'll probably needle Jeff since he won't be there because it's all their faces, just saying.
I am devastated I'm not going to be there, but it sounds like a great time. And I have not been to this hotel, the rooftop bar, but I've heard great things about it. Had friends that have been there. So hopefully it'd be something we could do again in the future because I'm sure it's going to be a great time on Friday night, especially if the weather continues, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So looking forward to that. So let's switch gears here a little bit. We'll get back to the Pelicans later on in hour number 2. But Saints news and some significant Saints news. The Saints are hosting Muhammad Wilkerson, former Jets defensive lineman, one-time Pro Bowler, and people are asking me what I thought of this on Twitter, and my response was pretty simple in that if he's level-headed and doing things the right way, certainly seems like someone the Saints could use, and probably one of the more, if not the most, viable option on the free agent market right now for a defensive end and a pass rusher. But all you've got to do is go check out some of the stories that have been written and the coverage of him and some of the things that have happened to him. And it is certainly no low risk. This is a high risk move if the Saints decide to sign him. Now, if the price is right, it might not be that much of a risk, but he has had a certainly checkered past as far as the last couple of years with the Jets. And I'm leery if they're willing to spend big bucks because he's, like I said, there's not a big-time edge rusher market. And Wilkerson, if you go look at some of the national projections as far as top free agent lists, they put Wilkerson at the top of the defensive end list, and it's sketchy. I'll just say some of his past is sketchy.
Yeah, he's got some off-the-field red flags, to say the least. He already has visited with Green Bay, who's also similarly desperate for defensive end help. And I think it's notable that he doesn't have a deal from them yet, right? So what is the market going to be for Muhammad Wilkerson? We know the Saints, that's their most glaring need, I think, in the entire starting lineup, projected starting lineup. Are they willing to risk what they have, this good thing they have going right now? They have no off-the-field issues, zero. This team, that's one of the most overlooked parts of this past season, was the fact that all these other teams had all these distractions and other things going on. The Saints were just sailing along like the Love Boat. They never really had any big. What was their biggest distraction?
Early on, they had the distraction with Delvin Breaux and the medical situation.
Well, that wasn't a big distraction.
It could have been.
It is in this town where everything gets overblown because it's the Saints, but by comparison, relative comparison, it's not.
Willie Snead getting the DWI suspended. That was one. Oh, you're asking me what they were. That's what they were.
If that's their biggest concerns, I would love to rank them compared to the other 30 teams in the league. For the most part, there was no players causing any commotion, no locker room cancers.
Well, you could say that the protests during or leading up to the national anthem, I think that caused a little bit of a stir. But that didn't happen just here. That wasn't uniquely New Orleans. That was around the league. But look, I'm just going to read the story from Manish Mehta.
Please do. I want to hear
from
it.
the New York Daily News. Just his portrayal of the situation. I'm going to sound like I'm reading for a while, but guess what? I'm going to read for a while because people need to know this. Just because you see Muhammad Wilkerson's name and you see Pro Bowl and double-digit sacks for a couple of years, here's what Manish said or wrote. Once they cut ties, the Jets cut ties with Muhammad Wilkerson. He said, the Jets predictably cut Muhammad Wilkerson on Wednesday after his 2-year heist that pocketed him a cool $37 million. The habitually tardy and underachieving defensive lineman was deactivated for the final 3 games last season after repeatedly breaking team rules. He morphed from Pro Bowl player to Pro Bowl excuse maker before the Jets finally had enough and put him in timeout toward the end of the season before they could file divorce papers. And Todd Bowles saying of Wilkerson's release that it wasn't disciplinary at all. It's a business decision that we made. And also adding, this is Manish's words, Wilkerson was invisible after getting his big payday. He recorded only 8 sacks in 28 games and was disciplined multiple times for repeatedly being late to meetings and missing a practice since getting the monster deal that he had coveted for so long. So his original deal was 5 years, max out at $86 million, and he got that in the summer of 2016. And isn't that the same offseason where Cam Jordan got his deal?
Yes.
So both in the same draft class, and you look at both players and their trajectory. Wilkerson kind of started hot and dipped. Cam started slow and is ascending. But is this worth the risk? I could tell you the reaction from many Saints fans who have jumped on the comment section or jumped in my Twitter feed. They're all about it because they know there's such a need, and yet you hear this, and I can only hearken back to Junior Galette. I mean, because they did this, it bombed out, and they had to pay for it going forward. So I'm not sure. I would need to see the price tag on him to say yay or nay for a deal with the Saints.
I just think red flags, man. I'm leery of teams that cut loose guys like this. Even if you look at the Jets as dysfunctional, I'm still leery of it. It just very rarely does it ever pan out the way you think it will. Sometimes it does. Sometimes players get in a new environment, a new culture. Certainly the Saints have a very strong locker room. They have strong leaders. Guys like Cam Jordan can take him in and teach him the way things are done in New Orleans if he were to come aboard. But you just, I don't know, they got a good thing going. Are they that desperate to try and make a run for a ring? I mean, you could say the same thing right now about what's going on in Los Angeles. I mean, the Rams have brought in, or are going to bring in, Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters. I mean, those are going to be their corners. 2 incredibly talented players, but also have had all kinds of off-the-field issues. Are they going for it? It looks like it.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. They've made all kinds of deals, and we haven't even really talked a lot about that. Look, they traded Alec Ogletree, their linebacker, but now they're
Robert Quinn.
Up. Right, they traded Robert Quinn. They're gearing up to lose Tremaine Johnson, which is why they go out and get Marcus Peters, and they go out and get Aqib Talib. And that is a team that seems like it's certainly going all in. I know the Saints want to go all in, but is this the guy you go all in with? Because I feel like he's going to command top dollar, and we've talked about this a bunch on the show. When a team lets a guy walk or just cuts a guy, a high-priced guy, they're not doing it just to do it. They're anybody who's on the free agent market means his old team doesn't want him because they would fight hard enough to retain him. And we've seen this happen so many times in the league, and it's free agency is a dicey game.
Yeah, totally. And the Saints have learned some hard lessons in recent years because of it. And I just feel like they built this roster, for the most part, through the draft without taking risks in free agency. The free agents they brought in aren't red flag candidates. Have they brought in anybody in the last year or two that have red flags? A.J. Klein wasn't. Ted Ginn Jr. wasn't. Who else am I leaving out here?
Manti Te'o, not red flags, but he came in with an injury concern.
I mean character issues. Is that
No.
what Mo Wilkerson's concerns are? Many.
Absolutely. And all these issues maybe affected him on the field, but then the argument is from Saints fans who want to see him, well, maybe he just laid down because the Jets are dysfunctional. And I respond back, maybe so, but you're getting paid a monster contract. You got to be a professional and do your job. Would you imagine Cam Jordan laying down? No. Would you imagine Drew Brees laying down? No. So this is an issue that, to me, it's dollars and cents. If the deal is right and you're not breaking the bank for this guy, and it's, say, a one-year prove-it deal a la Nick Fairley, something like that, I'd be okay with. But do not break the bank for Muhammad Wilkerson. It would be a mistake.
And it sounds like one of the issues, much like what happened with Tyrann Mathieu here, he needed to get away, and New York is his hometown area. He's from New Jersey. Maybe there is something to that. Maybe there is a possibility that if he got out of that environment, got away from some of the bad influences that have affected him, he would be better, much the way Tyrann Mathieu revived his career and excelled out in Arizona.
All right, let's take a break right here on this show. Don't forget, top of the 11 o'clock hour, we'll talk with our outdoors guru, Todd Masson. We're going to take your phone calls, 504-260-1280, because I'm working on a couple of pieces over the weekend. My free agent wish lists for the offense and the defense for the Saints. Want to get your reaction. I got a lot on Twitter, so we'll go through some of that, and we'll get all of our reactions here at Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.